thing that you're doing now for 10 years. I protected Mr. Trump for 10 years. And the fact that you pull up a news article that has no value to it, and you want to use that as the premise for discrediting me, that I'm not the person that people called at 3 o'clock in the morning, would make you inaccurate. In actuality, would make you a liar, which puts you into the same position that I am in. And I can only warn people, the more people that follow Mr. Trump, as I did blindly, are going to suffer the same consequences that I'm suffering.
Wow. You know, criminal enterprises rarely operate in plain view. Straw men are set up, money's laundered, conspiracies thrive in shadow and silence. But that sort of confession has never been this president's trump card. Instead, his confessions are blurted out loud to Lester Holt on nightly news or to a Russian foreign minister in the White House while meeting with Russian diplomats. Yesterday, Michael Cohen explained how Donald Trump and his allies even sent messages to co-conspirators over public airwaves. All of this happened as Republican members of the House Oversight Committee exposed themselves in plain sight, as a political party whose goal, whose purpose, and whose central organizing principle, as Pete Wehner said, is to cover up for the illegal and immoral misdeeds of Donald J. Trump. You know, that sordid sight would have been a lot more shocking to you and me. But for the fact that the moral collapse of Abraham Lincoln's party began in earnest the day Donald Trump was nominated almost 3 years ago. Remember, Paul Ryan called him a racist one day, endorsed him the next? Wow. What a long, strange trip it's been for my once proud Republican Party. Yesterday wasn't a turning point, though, unfortunately for Republicans. It was just another sorry, self-defeating step toward political oblivion, with GOP members crassly covering up for a commander-in-chief who is unworthy of their loyalty. And they did it shamelessly, in plain sight for all the world to see. And Joyce Vance, I mean, talk about how you had Republicans on that committee so either unaware or uncaring of the fact that potential crimes and misdemeanors that the president may have committed were being brought up before them, and none of them sought to go down those lines of inquiry.
You know, defense lawyers always like to say, when the facts are on your side, pound the facts. When the law's on your side, pound the law. When neither's on your side, pound the table. And Republicans, they certainly did not pound the facts. I think that that was very telling. Had they tried to get into it with Cohen over some of these details, I think that there was the risk that they could have gotten the president into even more hot water. They did not know what they were walking into or where the mortar shells were going to begin blowing up. And so perhaps this bad strategy of theirs was the best strategy that they have, given that they were ultimately trying to protect a president who at this point is likely unprotectable.
Joe, imagine being one of the Republicans on that panel in the Oversight Committee, having a witness sitting across the table from you and saying the following: the President of the United States, the current President of the United States, had an affair with a porn star. He directed me to make payments, and here are the personal checks that shows how he reimbursed me for those payments to make sure he got elected in the weeks before the presidential campaign, and not having questions about that, not following up about that. That would be the biggest scandal in the history of presidential scandals. But there's not a single follow-up question about that fact. It's astonishing. I mean, I know what their objective was in that room, which was to undermine the credibility of Michael Cohen, and they tried to do that with every question. But my God, do you have no curiosity about some of the questions that Cohen raised?
Well, exactly, and it wasn't just that check, but that check's a great place to start. How about a check signed by Donald Trump Jr.? What are the implications for that? What did you know, Mr. Cohen, about Donald Trump Jr.'s involvement in this scheme? Did you talk to him about it personally? I mean, there were so many different places that they could have gone, and Ben Wittes, first of all, I think you have to conclude that they just didn't give a damn. They've stopped caring about Donald Trump and whether he committed illegal acts or not. But secondly, even if they had, I'm sure they were worried that if they started asking him questions, they would step into a legal minefield. May not like the answers that Michael Cohen delivered.
Right. I think, look, I think there was an element of strategy in this, and Joyce alluded to it before, which is it is a very hard argument to make that some of the facts that Michael Cohen is alleging are untrue, because he walks in with a bunch of documents that corroborate them. And by the way, a lot of the facts that he's describing are things that are, to one degree or another, publicly acknowledged, like, for example, that there was this repayment scheme, that stretched into the course of Trump's presidency. So it's very hard to talk about the facts. And so what you have left is the ability to yell at Michael Cohen and to emphasize that, he has lied in the past, which, of course, is a troubling little argument in and of itself, because you're basically saying exactly what he walks in the door saying. I mean, he walks in saying, I've lied before, I'm here to correct the record, and you say, you lied. And he's like, yeah, right, I lied. I just pled guilty to lying. And so you're actually repeating a thing that he has walked in the door saying from the beginning. It ends up being a very ineffective argument over the course of 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, Emily Jane Fox, it was incredible. In some ways, when the Republicans seemed to be not interested in the evidence and the facts and things that could lead them to truth, and they constantly accused Michael Cohen of what he has done and what he admits to do and what he's going to jail for, and that's lying. And, of course, we have a president who lies 6, 7, 8 times a day, who was tweeting about Michael Cohen that morning and didn't tell the truth, who has still been tweeting over the past 24 hours about Michael Cohen from Vietnam during a North Korea summit. It is just sort of an incredible backdrop for these Republicans to really stand up for this president and somewhat subtly protect him during this hearing. And yet, I thought one of the most incredible moments was Michael Cohen saying, I lied for him for 10 years. I followed him blindly. And that's what I see happening here now with these Republicans.
Him pointing out that I was in your shoes and it leads to great consequences was one of those moments where you kind of felt an exhale in the room. The hypocrisy was on full display yesterday, and it was brought up several times in the hearing, the thousands of times that the president has lied since he has taken office came up a number of times. What I thought was an effective strategy for Cohen was every single time the issue of his credibility was raised, he owned it. He said, you're right, I did lie, and I'm going to jail. I'm paying the ultimate price for it. So let's just take that off the table. And what really stuck out to me was he made the point of saying, this is why I brought the evidence to this hearing. This is why I brought all of these documents, because I understand if you don't believe me. You have every reason not to believe me. But you don't have to believe me, because here are the checks. Here are the financial statements. Here are the letters from the president. So think whatever you want about my credibility, but these documents are not going to lie.
Yeah, the question is, did the president commit a crime? And Elijah Cummings was asked that after the hearing yesterday.
Well, and by the way, I mean, how incredible that you did have Republicans. They don't give a damn when Donald Trump lies 6,500 times or however many times the fact checkers have shown he has lied, and it's obvious lies. I mean, people try to undermine fact checkers. They make fools of themselves because there are so many lies. You can just put one tweet up in front of another.
And it's terrible.
The lies are constant. And these Republicans, so shocked that Michael Cohen may have lied. It's outrageous. But I'll tell you what else is outrageous is, Mika, they even lied. Jim Jordan lied repeatedly about the chairman, about Elijah Cummings, saying this is the first hearing you've had. Boy, Elijah thundered back at the end.
Yes, he did.
Really, I mean, don't lie. I mean, I understand these guys see Donald Trump lying every day and they think they can get away with it, but can you imagine Jim Jordan being stupid enough to lie in front of Elijah Cummings repeatedly, saying this is the first hearing we've had all year, as if that matters? It's a pretty damn strong first hearing as far as I'm concerned, but why would he lie about that when Elijah's had several hearings?
Yeah, Elijah, in his closing statement, he waited till the end to remind his Republican colleagues on the panel that they've had a couple